So once again, a very good morning to all the dear students here. And I'm back with the lecture series of operating system with lecture number 19, where I'm going to discuss virtual memory today, together with what exactly is page replacement and other topics, right? So stay tuned with me. So we are going to learn about virtual memory. So keep on learning and keep on watching. I hope the presentation is visible to all of you here. So this is what we are going to do in today's lecture. The objectives of today's lecture are to describe the benefits of virtual memory system, what exactly is virtual memory. Then we are going to explain the concepts of demand paging, page replacement algorithms, and allocation of page frames. Then next we have to discuss the principle of working set model, then to examine the relationship between shared memory and memory mapped files, and to explore how kernel memory is managed. So let us start with this. So before directly jumping over the virtual memory part, let us first understand the background of this. See, every code needs to be in memory to execute, but entire program is rarely used. Right. Now, in that code, there could be some kind of some kind of errors which can generate. There are some unusual routines which can be there. There are some large data structures. So entire program code not needed at the same time. So consider the ability to execute partially loaded program. Right. It is beyond our imagination. How could we do that? Now, each program takes less memory while running and more programs run at the same time. So it increases CPU utilization and throughput with no increase in response time or turnaround time. And the less input output needed to load or swap programs into memory, each user programs runs faster. So now let us understand how we all can do that with the help of virtual memory. Now, see, in computing, virtual memory or we say virtual storage is a memory management technique that provides an idealized abstraction of the storage resources that are actually available on the given machine, which actually creates the illusion to the users of a very large main memory. However, the memory is not that much large, but it always gives such kind of illusion that the memory is very large. Now, the computer's operating system, it is using a combination of hardware and software, where it maps memory addresses used by a program called virtual addresses into the physical addresses in the computer memory. Now, main storage, as seen by a process or task, appears as a contiguous address space, or the collection of contiguous segments. The operating system actually manages virtual address spaces and the assignment of real memory to virtual memory. Now, address translation hardware in the CPU, often referred to as memory management unit, automatically translates virtual addresses to the physical addresses. Now, software within the operating system may extend these capabilities to provide a virtual address space that can exceed the capacity of real memory and thus reference more memory than in physically present in the computer. So the primary benefits of virtual memory include freeing applications from having to manage a shared memory space, ability to share memory used by libraries between processes, increased security due to memory isolation, and being able to conceptually use more memory than might be physically available using the technique of paging and segmentation. Now, Let us see here. So separation of user's logical memory from physical memory is just a virtual memory where only part of the program needs to be in the memory for execution. Logical address space can therefore be much larger than physical address space. It allows address spaces to be shared by several processes. It allows for more efficient process creation, more programs running concurrently, and less input output needed to load or swap processes. Now, what is exactly a virtual address space? It is just the logical view of how process is stored in the memory. Usually, it starts at address 0 and contiguous addresses until end of the space. Now, meanwhile, physical memory is organized in page frames. The MMU must map logical to the physical memory. So, the virtual memory can be implemented via demand paging or demand segmentation. So, here is a virtual memory that is larger than the physical memory, as you can see in this diagram. Now, basically, what are the properties of virtual memory? So, when we talk about virtual memory, it makes application programming easier by hiding fragmentation of physical memory, by delegating to the kernel the burden of managing the memory hierarchy, and thus eliminating the need for the program to handle overlays explicitly. And when each process is run in its own dedicated address space, by obviating the need to relocate program code or to access memory with relative addressing. Now, memory virtualization can be considered a generalization of the concept of virtual memory. Now, what are the usage? See, the virtual memory is just an integral part of a modern computer architecture. Implementations usually require hardware support, typically in the form of a memory management unit built into the CPU. While not necessary, emulators and virtual machines can employ hardware support to increase performance of their virtual implementations. Older operating systems, such as those for the mainframes of the 1960s and those for personal computers of the early, to mid 1980s, those were, disk operating systems at that time. So they generally have no virtual memory functionality. Though notable exceptions for mainframes of 1960s, they include, the Alta supervisor for the Altas, then the multi-programming system for the Electrologica, then there are Multics for GE645. Then there are time sharing operating systems for RCA Spectra. So during the 1960s and early 70s, computer memory was actually very expensive. So the introduction of virtual memory provided an ability for software systems with large memory demands to run on computers with less real memory. So the savings from this provided a strong incentive to switch to virtual memory for all the systems. The additional capability of providing virtual address spaces added another level of security and reliability, thus making virtual memory even more attractive to the marketplaces. Right. Now, see, most modern operating systems that support virtual memory also run in each process in its own dedicated address space. Each program thus appears to have a sole access to the virtual memory. However, some older operating systems such as operating system VS1 and VS2 and even modern ones such as IBM I are single address space operating systems that run all processes in a single address space composed of virtual memory. Now, embedded systems and other special purpose computer systems that require very fast and or very consistent response times may opt not to use virtual memory due to decreased determinism. Virtual memory system trigger unpredictable traps that may produce unwanted and unpredictable delays in response to input, especially if the trap requires that data be read into main memory from secondary memory. So the hardware to translate virtual addresses to physical addresses typically requires a significant chip area to implement, and not all chips used in embedded systems include that hardware, which is another reason some of those systems don't use this virtual memory. So I hope you have seen this diagram. This is the virtual memory and how it is memory mapping in between the physical memory and the virtual memory. Now here you see, usually the design logical address space for stack to start a max logical address and grow down, which heap grows up. Right now, it maximizes address space use. Then unused address space between the two is whole, and there is no physical memory needed until heap or stack grows to a given new page. Now, it enables sparse address spaces with holes left for growth, dynamically linked libraries, etc. Now, system libraries shared via mapping into virtual address space. Shared memory by mapping pages read write into virtual address space. Pages can be shared during fork or speeding process creation. Now here is the example of shared library using virtual memory. You can see here how the shared library is used by the virtual memory. There is a common library from which the virtual memory can access. Now, the first true virtual memory system was that implemented at the University of Manchester to create a one-level storage system as a part of Atlas Computer. It used a paging mechanism to map the virtual addresses available to the programmer onto the real memory that consisted of 16,384 words of primary core memory with an additional 98,304 words of secondary drum memory. The first atlas was commissioned in 1962, but the working prototypes of paging had been developed in 1955. In 1961, the Burroughs Corporation independently released the first commercial computer with virtual memory. Now, before virtual memory could be implemented in mainstream operation systems, many problems had to be addressed, like dynamic, address translation required expensive and difficult to build specialized hardware. Then initial implementation, slowed down access to memory slightly. There were, worries that new system-wide algorithms utilizing secondary storage would be less effective than previously used application-specific algorithms. Now, by 1969, the debate over virtual memory for commercial computer was over, and an IBM research team led by David Sayer showed that their virtual memory overlay system consistent worked better than the best manually controlled systems. Now, throughout the 1970s, the IBM 370 series running their virtual storage-based operating systems provided a means for business users to migrate multiple order systems into fewer, more powerful mainframes that had improved price performance. So the first mini computer to introduce virtual memory was the Norwegian Nord 1, During the 1970s, other mini computers implemented virtual memory, notably VEX models running VMs. So virtual memory was introduced to the x86 architecture with the protected mode of Intel 80286 processor. But its segment swapping technique scaled poorly to larger segment sizes. The Intel 80386 introduced paging support underneath the existing segmentation layer, enabling the page fault exception to chain with other exceptions without, double fault. However, loading segment descriptions or descriptors was an expensive operation, causing operating system designers to rely strictly on paging rather than a combination of paging and segmentation. Now, what is page virtual memory? Now, see, nearly all current implementations of virtual memory divide a virtual address space into pages, blocks of contiguous virtual memory addresses. Now, pages on contemporary systems are, usually at least 4 kilobytes in size. Systems with large virtual address ranges or amounts of real memory generally use large page sizes. Now, what are page tables? See, the page tables are used to translate the virtual addresses seen by the application into physical addresses used by the hardware to process instructions. Now, such hardware that handles this specific translation is, often known as the memory management unit. Each entry in page table holds a flag indicating whether the corresponding page is in real memory or not. If it is, in real memory, the page table entry will contain the real memory address at which the page is stored. So when a reference is made to a page by the hardware, if the page table entry for the page indicates that it is not currently in real memory, the hardware raises a page fault exception, invoking the paging supervisor component of the operating system. So systems can have one page table for the whole system, separate page tables for each application and segment, a tree of page tables for large segments or some combinations of these. If there is only one page table, different applications running at the same time use different parts of a single range of virtual addresses. Now, if there are multiple page or segment tables, there are multiple virtual address spaces and concurrent applications with separate page tables redirect to different real addresses. Some earlier systems with smaller real memory sizes, such as SDS 940, used page registers instead of page tables in memory for address translation. So, what is paging supervisor? Now, This part of the operating system creates and manages page tables. If the hardware raises a page fault exception, the paging supervisor accesses secondary storage, returns the page that has the virtual address that resulted in the page fault, and updates the page tables to reflect the physical location of the virtual addresses and tells the translation mechanism to restart the request. When all the physical memory is already in use, the paging supervisor must free a page in primary storage to hold the swapped in page. Now, the supervisor uses one of the variety of page replacement algorithms, such as least recently used, to determine which page to free. Now, there are pinned pages also. Operating systems have memory areas that are pinned. They are never swept to secondary storage. Other terms used are log, fixed, or wired pages. For example, interrupt mechanisms rely on an array of pointers to their handlers, such as input-output completion and page fault. If the pages containing these pointers or the code that they invoke were pageable, interrupt handling would become far more complex and time-consuming, particularly in the case of page fault interruptions. Hence, some part of page table structures is not pageable. Some pages may be pinned for short periods of time, others may be pinned for long periods of time, and still others may need to be permanently pinned. For example, the paging supervisor code and drivers for secondary storage devices on which pages reside must be permanently pinned, as otherwise paging wouldn't even work because the necessary code wouldn't be available. Time dependent components may be pinned to avoid variable paging delays. Data buffers that are accessed directly by peripheral devices that use direct memory access or input-output channels must reside in pinned pages while the input-output operation is in progress, because such devices and the buses to which they are attached expect to find data buffers located at physical memory addresses regardless of whether the bus has memory management unit for input and output. Transfers cannot be stopped if a page fault occurs and then restarted when the page fault has been processed. In IBM's operating system, Core System 370, and successor systems, the term is fixed, and such pages may be long-term fixed, or maybe short-term fixed, or maybe unfixed. System control structures are often long-term fixed. They are measured in wall clock time, that is, time measured in seconds rather than time measured in fractions of 1 second. Whereas input-output buffers are usually short-term fixed, usually measured in significantly less than wall clock time, possibly for tens of milliseconds. Indeed, the operating system has a special facility for fast fixing these short-term fixed data buffers, fixing which is performed without resorting to a time-consuming supervisor call instruction. Now, what is page fault? We have seen in the previous lecture also that if there is a reference to a page, first reference to the page will track to operating system, then it will be a page fault. So operating system looks at another page table to decide invalid reference, which it should abort, and it is not in the memory. So it always find free frame, then swap the page into the frame via scheduled disk operation, then reset the table to indicate page now in the memory and set the validation bit B to be 1. And then again restart the instruction that caused the page fault. So this is about the page fault. So these are the steps in handling page fault. You can see this thing to understand how the page fault occurs.
थोड़ा अलग अलग सा।
Now I hope you understood the diagram as well. So we have already seen this thing. So as such, you see, the virtual memory is just a storage allocation scheme in which secondary memory can be addressed as though it were part of main memory. Now, the addresses a program may use to reference memory are distinguished from the addresses the memory system uses to identify physical storage sites. And program generated addresses are translated automatically to the corresponding machine addresses. So the size of virtual storage is limited by the addressing scheme of computer system, and amount of secondary memory is available not by the actual number of the main storage locations. Basically, it is a technique that is implemented using both hardware and software. It maps memory addresses used by a program called virtual addresses into physical addresses in computer memory. All memory references within a process are logical addresses that are dynamically translated into physical addresses at runtime. This means that a process can be swapped in and out of main memory such that it occupies different places in main memory at different times during the course of execution. A process may be broken into number of pieces, and these pieces need not be continuously located in the main memory during execution. So the combination of dynamic runtime address translation and use of page or segment table permits this. Now, if these characteristics are present, then it is not necessary that all the pages or segments are present in the main memory during execution. This means that the required pages need to be loaded in memory whenever required. Virtual memory is implemented using demand paging or demand segmentation. Now, the process of loading the page into memory on demand whenever a page fault occurs is known as demand paging. So, if the CPU try to refer a page that is currently not available in the main memory, it generates an interrupt indicating memory access fault. The operating system puts the interrupted process in a blocking state. For the execution to proceed, the OS, it must bring the required page into the memory. The OS will search for the required page in the logical address space. Logical address space. The page replacement algorithms are used for the decision making of replacing the page in physical address space. The page table will update accordingly, and the signal will be sent to the CPU to continue the program execution, and it will place the process back into the ready state. Hence, whenever a page fault occurs, these steps are followed by the operating system and the required page is brought into memory. Now, what are the advantages? See, more processes may be maintained in the main memory because we are going to load only, some of the pages of any particular process. There is room for more processes. This leads to more efficient utilization of the processor because it is more likely that at least one of the more numerous processes will be in the ready state at any particular time. A process may be larger than all of the main memory. One of the most fundamental restrictions in programming is liquid. A process larger than the main memory can be executed because of demand paging. The operating system itself loads pages of a process in main memory as required. It allows greater multiprogramming levels by using less of the available primary memory for each process. What is page fault service time? The time taken to service the page fault is called as page fault service time. The page fault service time includes the time taken to perform all the above steps that we have discussed. So now with this, I hope the topic for today is clear to you that we have taken about the virtual memory. So I am ending up this lecture here, and I'm quickly taking you to the MCQ part so that you can understand the concepts very clearly. So let me quickly take you to the MCQ part. So here are question number one, two, and three. So question number one and two, please go through it and try to give a correct answer. Now I hope you people have done question number one and two. Now these are question number three and four. You can see the questions, and I think you will be able to answer them correctly. Try to answer them quickly. Now let me take you to the next set of questions. Question number 5 and 6. The string of memory references and consider the following sequence of addresses. Quickly try to answer these two questions, 5 and 6. Now let me take you to the next set of questions. Question number 7 and question number 8. You have already seen these concepts, so I believe that you people are, will be able to answer all these questions. Now let me take you to the next set of questions. Question number 9 and 10. Try to answer them quickly. So, with this, I hope you were able to answer all these questions, and we are done with this lecture number 19 of virtual memory. So, I hope you have learned a lot in this lecture, and in my coming lecture, I'm coming over with more such interesting topics like page replacement and page replacement algorithms. So, stay tuned with me, keep on learning, keep on watching. Thank you so much.